I would love to welcome you to our journey through Noah's Ark. We're actually going to look at a full-size Noah's Ark built on Minecraft. So as you can see, this is an absolutely massive seaworthy vessel that Noah built back in the days before the flood. So the dimensions of the Ark is 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. On Minecraft, each block represents 1 cubic meter. Okay, and so a cubit is about 0.45 meters. So what we have here is an ark that is 135 blocks long. We have 23 blocks wide and 14 blocks high, which meets the biblical proportions that are given in the book of Genesis. And so I just wanted to give you a quick flyby so you could see absolutely how huge this ship is. Let's show you in comparison to which the Minecraft humans are about 2 meters tall, so they're a little bigger, or maybe a lot bigger than a normal human. But as I zoom out, you can see how huge this vessel is. I'm just going to leave him up there to run around, but okay, he disappeared. But it's a very big ship. So all of the little kids' picture books that depict the Ark as being this little tiny ark with, a couple of animals in it is just not accurate. So we're going to go ahead and enter the Ark, and I want to show you how all of the animals can fit on the Ark. And we're going to start with the bottom floor and work our way up. So let's go ahead and head downstairs. Now, the Ark can hold about 520, a couple of the cows got out. The Ark can hold 520 train cars. The average size of an animal that would have been on the Ark, when you think of all the reptiles, birds, and mammals in the world, basically, they would all average out to the size of a small sheep. So generous, I used the size of a large cow, because these cows are about 2 meters long in Minecraft. And I have on each floor large pens, medium pens, and small pens. In the large pens, we can fit 100 cow-sized animals. Now, bear in mind, the average size of the animals on the Ark was a small sheep. Okay? So I want to show you the medium-sized pen, which is going to be on our next floor, and we can fit 75 animals in that. And then I'm going to go through each floor and help you to understand how many large cow-sized animals we could fit on each floor. We have our 75 sheep-sized animals here, and they are actually the size of a regular sheep. They are also about 2 meters long, so we're being extremely generous. Here's Noah's sons running on the Ark, and their wives. But so these are much larger than a small sheep, but we can easily fit 75 of them into a medium-sized pen. And then let's go up to our third deck, and I will show you our small pen, which fits. I put 50 pigs in there. And these pigs are also a little less than 2 meters long, so they are gigantic in comparison to a normal pig or a small sheep. So we are still being extremely generous with the Minecraft animal sizes. Okay, so we're going to walk through of each floor. On this floor we have a divider. This is a deck, and it has 2 floors on the deck. And the bottom floor, let's take a look down. The bottom floor has 12 medium pens that can fit 75 large animals each. It has 7 large pens which can fit 100 large animals each, and it has 2 small pens which can fit 50. And so we can fit a total of this level of the third deck of 1,750 large animals. Now, bear in mind, as I said earlier, the average size of an animal was a small sheep. Now, let's go back to, as we get ready to look at this top tier of the third deck. Let's remember that we can fit 520 train cars in the Ark. You can fit 240 small sheeps into a train car. Therefore, using cages and other storing devices, you could literally fit over 125,000 sheep-sized animals onto this Ark. And in a moment, we'll talk a little bit about how many animals were actually projected to be on the Ark. Now, here's our top level. This is going to be for birds. It's the top tier of our third deck. And we have 9 medium pens, which can fit 150 birds. We have 17 small pens, which can fit 100 birds. And then we have 5 large pens, which can fit 200 birds. Now, the birds that I tested were chickens, and they are actually quite large in comparison to normal birds. But even using the chickens, which are about maybe a little less than a meter long, which is gigantic in bird when it comes to bird sizes, even using that extremely generous dimension, we are able to fit 4,050 birds on this very top tier. Okay. Now, you can see in each pen we have stored foods, and up here on top of the living quarters, we also have stored foods for the animals. Now, Noah and his sons would have probably stored dried foods such as nuts, berries, obviously hay for the animals or whatever else. But, it is extremely plausible and feasible to store enough food for the animals. Now, that brings the question in mind, how long were they on the Ark? Well, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, but the total number of days that they actually floated on the floodwaters before landing was 375 days total. Okay, so you would have needed quite a bit of food if the animals did not hibernate. Some researchers do propose that God caused the animals to hibernate, and that would have alleviated a lot of need for food storage, but I'm just going to assume they needed the food storage, and I'm going to show you later on, after we get done looking at each floor, how much area there is for storage, even it being able to fit all the animals. So we have Shem. Let's go back up. Whoops. All right. So Noah brought his 3 sons and their wives. Shem is one of his sons, so that's a room for him and his wife. There's Noah's wife there, and that's Noah's living quarters. Now, they were basically just managing the Ark, so they didn't need a big, luxurious area to stay. There's Japheth, and at the very end is Ham, and that's his wife in here right now. Hello, Ham wife. How are you doing? So each of them have a queen-size bed, or actually the bed is 2 meters long, so it's pretty big. And then you have, some books and other wonderful things. And oops, sorry, no, Ham's wife didn't hit you. Now let's go back up for just a moment. Sorry about that. I want to continue to show you the third floor. So the last thing I want to show you on this floor is what we have on each floor is watering mechanisms, where the water from the top of the Ark, you can have storage containers, which I'll show you in a little bit, up on the top of the Ark, and that rain that you're able to capture from the 40 days and 40 nights could easily be funneled down to all of the animals, just like this. So don't let anybody tell you that it would have been impossible. Actually, there are some mechanisms such as that they could easily put in place. Another common question that comes up that I'd like to show while we're up here on the third floor, and then I will complete when we get to the bottom floor, is what happened with all of the animal waste upon the Ark. There's some little kids there. Let's see if it'll let me in here. Okay. Now, what happened with all the animal waste on the Ark? Actually, you would have had vats. Let me see if I can find one of my vats. One moment. Let's go down here and look at the vats. I believe they're on the next floor. We'll go ahead and start doing an overview of the second floor. So you have these vats here, and you would have those on the third floor, though I didn't install them on the third deck here in this replica of the Ark. But these right here, all Noah would have had to do is build each animal pen with a slant. So the floor would be slanted toward this vat here, where the animals, as they move around, the droppings would naturally flow down into this vat, and then down to the very bottom floor where it could be swept out of the ship daily. Okay, so yeah, it would be a pretty stinky ship for a while, but there is a way to clean those pens regularly and to put a slant to the floor so that management of the pens would not be too overbearing. Now, on the second floor, I was able to store quite a bit of food and water for the ship in case rain did not come for a couple of weeks or something while they were waiting the 375 days. They could, while the rain is coming, fill up a well in the Ark itself just to be safe. Then you have large amounts of storage here on the second floor, and those cages back there, that's actually a vent for air circulation, which I will explain when we go and take a look at those in a bit. Now, on this floor, we have the same structure, one egg with 2 levels, and the bottom level has 14 medium pens, 9 large pens, and 2 small pens, and we would be able to fit a total of 2,050 animals, large animals, on this, just this way of me structuring this Ark. Now, we don't know how Noah did his Ark. Obviously, he could have used cages and other storing devices for the animals that would, when we look at the actual size, as I said earlier, could fit over 125,000 animals. But we're just going to go with leaving them some comfortable room to walk around, and we could have a total of 2,050 on this bottom, and then on the upper floor we could have 2,075. Okay. So how many actual animals were suspended on the Ark? Well, we have a lot of species of animals today, but back in that time, John Woodmarap, who did a large research feasibility study on the Ark and wrote a very large research resource on that, basically suspects that there were between as low as 2,000 kinds animals up to 16,000 on the Ark, and that is just looking at how species are basically they come into existence over time. For example, you have dogs that over time have created many different breeds. Back in the time of Noah, there would have been much less, if not just one breed of dog that he would have needed to bring on the Ark, and you could have done the same exact thing with all the other animal kinds, bringing you out to a maximum of 16,000. Now, and those are sheep-sized animals. Now, with my calculations, I've been able to fit a little over 11,000 large cow-sized animals on the Ark. So you reduce that and do the math for the difference between a large cow and a small sheep, and you can see that not only is there room for 16,000 small sheep, but there would actually be a lot of room left over. Okay, So that's our second floor. You've seen the vats. We have watering mechanisms here on this floor as well. We have storage, and we're able to fit 2,050 animals, okay, on this floor. On the top floor, like I said, we're going to be able to fit 4,000 birds and 1,750 large animals. So the numbers are really, really totaling up pretty nicely there. Now let's go down to the bottom floor and take a look at that. Okay, let's go over here. And I did not build multiple levels on this floor, although that is a possibility. So there could have been multiple levels on this deck. The Bible does say there were 3 decks, and it's just known that ships do have multiple floors within decks, or ways of situating especially stored animals on large, spacious decks. And so I don't know if they had multiple tiers or if they just stacked up cages, or how they specifically did it, but you would expect them to utilize all space on the ark. Now, another thing to consider is the purpose for which these animals were brought on the ark were to repopulate the earth afterwards, okay? And so they would have brought animals on the ark. So you're talking about large elephants, large giraffes, and large creatures that would be very it would take up a lot of space. You would actually, if you brought young animals on the ark, not only would it save room and the amount of food they would need to be fed, but it would also give them a long life after exiting the ark to breed and repopulate the earth. So it only makes sense that and taking that into account, the average size of an animal would be much smaller than a small sheep. But we're just assuming that we're just being generous, saying that they may have brought fully grown animals. If that was the case, small sheep is what we use. So there are so many ways to run the calculations and prove that all the animals could fit on the ark. Now, on this bottom floor, we can fit a total of 2,050 animals and that's without me adding in an additional deck. If I added in an additional tier to this floor, I could double that number and put 4,000 on this bottom floor. We have 10 medium pens, 12 large, and 2 small. Okay, the large hold the small, or medium hold 75, and the small hold 50. Okay, now these little openings over here is where all of the animal waste that's on every corner of the ark, one over there and one over here on the other end of the ship, whereas the droppings from the animals on the top floors fall through, they can be swept out of the ship on a daily basis. And there were 8 members of the ship, so you could easily divide the work up daily to make sure that task is managed. Okay. Now I want to take a look at just show you the amount of area we have for storage. This is so much room for storage, and we still have air ventilation. So it would not block the airflow, and you could still store so much food. I mean, look at this. These are a square meter per block. And let's say this was all dried goods that you could compact into storage containers. And you could survive for a very long time. You've got a plenteous water supply coming from the storage vats on the top of the ark. And so it's an extremely feasible situation. So any skeptics that have misinformed on the ark, this video should help to show you how feasible it would be to be able to fit easily 15 to 20,000 animals and feed them, water them, and care for them on a daily basis without having to use a lot of labor. So these watering mechanisms would save the human inhabitants of the ark from having to carry buckets to 11,000 animals every single day. I mean, so it would make sense for them to use. Noah apparently was 600 years old when they boarded the ark, so he had plenty of knowledge on how to build and craft different unique ways of helping the animals. And obviously God gave him instructions, so God would have certainly made sure that Noah set the ark in an efficient manner. All right, this is our other storage area. I don't have as much food in here, but you could fill just as much as the other storage area. There are air ventilation vats for having air circulate through the entire ark. That way none of the animals lose oxygen. This is also a workshop and a kitchen. I have workbenches and ovens, and then I have storage containers where they can store seeds to use after the ark lands. Bugs would easily survive outside of the ark because it's a known scientific fact that bugs do survive floods. They simply attach themselves to floating debris, and you get these log mats that happen in large floods to where ecosystems can actually survive on top of the log mats. So Noah could have had an ant farm or a large storage area for bugs if need be, but it really wasn't necessary. So that deals with the bug issue. But he definitely would have, I believe, stored specific seeds. That way, when he left the ark, they could, plant agricultural crops and things of that nature. So that's our storage area. We're going to now exit the ark and go just show you the water storage on top of the ark. But this is certainly, if you look how long this ship is, there's just so much room on it. It's amazing when I didn't realize how big it was until I actually built this, and then I realized, wow, a lot of the pictures of the ark that you see in children's books is just completely inaccurate. It doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't just take a look at the biblical proportions and sketch the ark accurately, because as kids grow up, it could turn into them not even believing the Bible for no reason. The Bible gives measurements that would certainly be feasible in storing it for a long period of time on floodwaters. Okay. All right, so here's the top of the ark. God told Noah to build a roof that could have been a place to store goods as well. There was a window at the top where Noah released the dove and the raven after the flood. And then we have water storage. For when it rains, you can store the water and let it flow down into the ark, feeding and replenishing the animals and replenishing the water storage area that I showed you inside of the ark. Down here, there's another water storage area, and then you have a wing. This is just an add-on. A lot of the people who have done research, including John Woodmarap, as I mentioned earlier, he did the feasibility study. There is certainly a possibility there was a wing on the ark to keep it stable during torrential storms and the nature. But at the same time, we don't know if that was on there. The Bible just gives us the dimensions, the basic dimensions. It doesn't tell us about any of the specific features. So I just added that just to kind of, just fun, to be honest, and just because I know it's a possibility in ship making over the centuries that the wing has been used on ships to keep it stable. All right, well, that was a tour of Noah's Ark. I hope it helped you realize how big the Ark is, how feasible it is for carrying large quantities of animals, and how certain mechanisms could be put into place to manage waste, food, and water for such a large occupancy rate. It's just an amazing ship. And go ahead and click like on this video and share it with friends. Share it with your youth group if you're a pastor, or just share it with your kids. That way they can understand when they read children's books, the ark was a lot bigger than what is depicted. And it was something that really was a very seaworthy, feasible, and just intelligently built vessel. So thanks for taking the ark, and go ahead and click like and share the video. Thank you.